So this is my disclaimer for any of my paint videos if you see them. It's super hot outside, so I'm going to look funky the whole time. If you got a problem with it, I guess watch a different video, something else. Anything that I reference is not necessarily gospel, so don't, you know, if I'm doing something one way and you don't agree, you can let me know in the comments. I'll talk, you know, we can talk it over or whatever. But for the most part, I got some pretty good practiced different skills, whatever. I'm not a body man. I'm not a painter. But hopefully, I think the truck will look pretty decent when I'm done. A couple things, you know, if you want to see some good paint tutorial videos, check out anything with Kevin Tates. That's his last name's T-E-T-Z. He used to be on trucks. Seems to be a great guy. I've never met him, but I would if you're watching, Kevin. I'm your biggest fan. But yeah, anything that he does, I don't have a problem doing at all. Stuff my grandpa taught me also, I'll kind of show you some. But if I give you a tip or a trick or something, it's just a suggestion. I'm not saying that it's the only way of doing this, but it should work out pretty nicely for us. I'm going to go ahead, step one, before you do any body work, I've already washed the truck, pressure washed it. It's good to clean. If you get some Dawn dishwashing soap on a good rag, you could even, if you know you're going to paint it, you could even use like a red scuff pad and a good soapy water mix and wash the whole truck. Step two, I would say, I'm gonna go ahead and probably fix the sides of the truck first. Anything that I fix, example, put filler on, I'm not going to leave probably more than a day or two before I actually prime over that, just to seal it up. It's pretty humid outside, so that's the whole reason I'm not going around and sanding the entire truck down to bare metal and leave it set out here for weeks or whatever, however long it takes. Hopefully not weeks, but I don't want that surface rust to flash on there. So like I said, anything I sand down to metal will be primed that same day or the next. So I guess let's get started. Through the magic of TV, here's the easiest thing you should do if you're going to do body work. Get ready. I'm 6'5". I don't want to bend down and have to sand like this my entire life. So now it's at a space I can reach, jack the truck up if you can. Right? I'll show you kind of the bread and butter section of the vehicle here. Let me zoom on in. Okay. So, when you're working on a vehicle, painting a vehicle, whatever, especially since this has trim here, your bread and butter area is going to be from here to here. So this, hopefully you can still see me. So I want to take out every, well, Kevin calls them whiskey nicks, any gouges, any scratches, any dents, anything you can imagine. This needs to look perfect. If this is a little bit off, we'll be okay. Okay? So from there to there is bread and butter. The tops of the fenders and hood, people always look at that. The very top, let me come on down. The top of the bed rail, or the bed top basically, people are going to look at that. They notice, right, that your eye goes to this. And when you look at a truck and you think, well, it's a nice truck or whatever, in my mind, I always look at it and it's nice, and then I start seeing little flaws everywhere. So what I'm trying to do today is identify all the flaws and start fixing them. So typically I go one panel at a time. Like I'll start on this front fender, example. And I'll find my flaws on the front fender. I'll fix the flaws on the front fender. I can prime the front fender. I'll move on to the door. The door needs a lot of work, I already know that. So I'm not going to sand the entire truck down to bare metal and then have to do my body work and then prime or sand the entire truck down, like I don't have enough time in the day. This will start rusting before I could actually get primer on it if I did the entire truck at once. So all this is just very cheap spray paint. I'd like to look on the can if it says anything about lacquer. If it contains lacquer, I don't use it. You can put lacquer over anything, but you can't put anything over lacquer. So that's a rule you remember. So this says it's a spray enamel, what does it say? Alkyd enamel, whatever you call that, ALKYD, alkyd enamel, butyl acetate, petroleum distillates, alcohols, totally fine. Something else, before I even spray that, this is just some fairly cheap glass cleaner, and all I'm going to take it, just mist. That's another Kevin Tate's method. It removes all the grease and oil and everything else. I usually wipe in one direction, but see, it's getting dirty. You'll see me do this several times before it actually gets painted, but if it's been washed with soapy water, which I washed this last week, so I'm going to go ahead and just smear it off here. This is going to serve as our guide coat. So hopefully you can see the fender. And I'm putting very little paint on it. I'm not trying to coat the fender entirely. That'll work. See if you can see that. So I'm about to turn my fan back on. It'll dry faster, but that's all it needed. I didn't actually have to do these dark spots here. I didn't need all that, but basically that's a good consistency. Just spray something on there. I'll get it blocked real quick. I'll actually use my DA to run over it, and you'll notice all the black spots as I'm sanding. It's just a DA 6-inch pad. This is 150 grit sandpaper. I'm gonna run over this. The entire truck's gonna be primed before it's painted anyway, but this will help me find my spots. Then I can attack each spot as I go. Something I wanted to show you real quick. I've got my just standard air hose here. Let me see if you can see me. Yeah. So standard air hose. Plug it on my sander. I want you to listen. So right here, this is a cheap fitting, probably a Harbor Freight, something like that. Can you imagine if I'm sanding this truck for hundreds of hours, how much air I'm losing right there? So I just kind of diagnosed that. Here's a different fitting, different hose. Plug it on, it's totally silent. So I'll switch that fitting to my sander and save my compressor a little bit of pain. Don't have all day. I'll switch to a piece of 80. Let's try that out. You're starting to see here, here, some through here, but for the most part, like this line is all the way low. I think that was kind of a factory deal there, but let's give her a spin and see what happens. Let's do a little spray and wipe, see what happens. Alright, so you can see, zoom, zoom, zoom. I stayed off the body line, here, there, and for the most part through here, going here. My sander never touched, never rolled over it. So I would recommend, don't let your sander roll over the body line. A lot of people will just go ahead and sand a truck just like this, you know, knock off all the paint that they could, or knock off paint and then go ahead and shoot a primer over it and then start blocking that. But I mean, there's still several layers of paint on here. I hit metal here, zoom zoom, like hit metal there. Not too, there's a faint hint of metal here you can see shining through, but for the most part there's still plenty of paint on that fender that could be blocked off, so there's no real need for me to add lots of primer to it yet until I get this flat as possible. Then I can shoot my high build. So I'm gonna keep going with this, and I'll check back with you when I'm done. So we got our fender sanded up pretty good. It's not all the way there. Little spots like this. See if I can get you in on it. Like that. Typically like that spot's actually low, so I'm just gonna hit it with some 36 grit. Same thing here and here. Hit it with some 36 and then just a little smear of filler over it. Not a big deal. The top of my fender is kind of in funky shape. You know, this was, my sander did this, but example here, if I'm moving the sander like this across and then I come back this way, so kind of like the X pattern like you normally sand in. But stuff like this, if I can take my fingernail and chip any of it off, that needs to be sanded way on down to primer or bare metal preferably. So like high spot, low spot here, I'm just going to keep sanding on this probably till it's mostly metal or metal primer bits. But you can see this is kind of funky. Like that metal started showing, these metals, so that's actually a low spot. Low, 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 low. I've seen people before just take some real rough 36 or something and take that all the way down real quick, then get the filler out and just smear this whole thing and then sand that, most of that filler off, just to level it up real quick. I'm gonna try not to have to do that. It's not really best practice in my opinion, but I'll just keep trucking on. I was going to show you a little progress here. Here's Randall mixing a little primer. Prime some shit. I'm gonna do my body work first so I can be sure it gets plenty of coat. And then come over and do the whole thing. Even if we got mixed up in there. If it gets too funky, let me know. Or just put it back on the tripod, I guess. Plenty of time to dry. Dude, those holes went away. That body line is a little crooked. I can see it now. It's primed. I like to tell people this is the most important. From there to here, that's what people look at. Unless they're really short. They like them apples.